Ladies and gentlemen, it is another glorious Friday the 16th of September 2011. This is the KNKL Show, episode 15. And now, here to lead you in your search for artistic truth, the man himself, Kienan Lafferty. Thank you, announcer guy, who's not just me talking in a lower voice. Yes, I am in fact Kienan Lafferty. And I am here today to teach you to draw muscles. But before we get started, I actually wanted to take the time to send out a special thank you to those of you who have been commenting on my Riven fan art. Oh, Riven, you're so fine. You blow my mind, girl. But that is not even the most interesting part. If we scroll down a little bit here, we'll see what? What is that? 41,000 views? Come on, people. That is amazing. That is the most views I have ever gotten on a deviation in my life. So thank you for all of you who have come to look at this, comment on it. Thank you so much. I just wanted to make sure I got that out there. Now with that out of the way, I invite all of you, my friends, get comfortable. Pull out your Wacom tablets, your sketchbooks, and maybe even a few Cintiqs out there. And I invite you to come to my tutorial, where we will be drawing the lovely form of the male muscles. So I'll put myself up in this corner here, and throughout the daily, or throughout the show, I'll be looking right here. This is my reference, and I will be basically simplifying all of these shapes into easy to remember puzzle pieces, I guess you could say. So we will get started right now. So, an easy way for me to remember a lot of the muscles is to come up with these really simple shapes. Now, if we're going to be drawing, let's start with the chest, with the pec muscle. Now, if you remember with the last tutorial, we actually drew the face and the neck. So, you could almost call this a continuation of that daily. Like, this is the head, and here's our neck, and we drew our trapezius right there. Now here's the collarbone, and now we continue right on down. So the chest is always going to be like this here. Right? Everybody knows that. It's like, it's just superhero stuff, you know? But where it gets really hard and where I had a lot of trouble with was once it started to go to the shoulders and just trying to figure out easy ways to remember how these muscles interlock and fit together like a puzzle piece. So I will show you how I've learned to remember it. Basically, the shoulder goes like this, goes up, and then down like that. And it comes to this point right here. And where that point hits, that is where your bicep is going to go. Like that. And then it kind of has this motion. It kind of goes like that, and then it'll actually connect. Like your arm has like a bone there. I forget if it's the humerus, yes. I was going to say the ulna, but I think that is actually the leg bone, so I don't want to stick my foot in my mouth. So yeah, well, that is definitely the humerus. and once you get the bicep in, the tricep kind of follows behind the shoulder and goes in like this. And then your shoulder, your elbow. So now, an easy way to remember this, once you go past your bicep and tricep, the forearm is where I tend to get a little lost. And this is where I've learned to start to integrate a little bit of this puzzle piece action. So right here, where this tricep and bicep, you have this other forearm muscle that comes out like this. And if your arm is coming down like this and your hand is out, like that, we're just drawing a quick little hand. It's not the best hand in the world, but it's not meant to be anatomically correct. It's just for your enjoyment, just to show you what I am illustrating here. You have your muscle here, and then this muscle starts on the outside of the arm, but it'll actually curve around to this side of the wrist right here. So that creates that little bit of that bulge or that shape of the arm. And that is an easy way for you to remember how all of the muscles intertwine on your arm. Now we are moving down to the abdominals. So an easy way to remember this is this bulge right here, or this shape, is actually created by your back muscle, your latissimus dorsi, I believe it's called. And that's what gives you that shape right there. And then it goes right into your abs, which usually I draw like this. And I also like to think about the rib cage underneath. The rib cage kind of goes up like that and then down, right? And go up, and then you got your arm over here. And then from there, I like to do, usually the way that I draw my abs is like they're all kind of like, they're kind of going up. And it's a little bit of a comic book style to draw them. They don't actually do that like on most people, but it's kind of just an easy way to remember, and it kind of gives a little bit of a flair and style to your drawing. So I usually just kind of draw abs like that. So you got your 1, 2, 3, 4. Then this is not, well, actually that is in fact another set of abs, but usually they're not really seen as much. I don't know, I usually kind of blend them together and just kind of make it all one piece. It's actually really hard now that I'm doing it. It's actually quite in depth. So I hope that it's not too complicated. I'm trying to simplify this as much as possible. So we go down here, and we will be doing the legs. Now this is another thing that I am still learning about. We're going to be drawing our legs, so let's draw in our little hips there. I don't know what that bump is. Let's get rid of that. You got your obliques here, and there's actually like all these little stratus anterior, I believe it's called, that just kind of follow up and they connect to your back. And the easiest way for me to do this is like just connect these continue these lines up like this, and then you go like that, and then so you have these 3 lines, and then what I do is I actually interweave like these other lines, like I go like that and like that, kind of, yeah, like that. Bam, bam, bam. See, like that, and that'll actually give you a little bit of a serratus anterior feel to it. And then this is kind of where your abs will form around it. So again, it's a little bit of a stylistic, maybe comic book approach to it, but it helps for you to get that depth in there, and you can always like shade it a little bit just to show a little bit more of that depth of the muscles. Now we are moving into the legs. Now the legs are an interesting thing, because a lot of times when people draw them, they tend to they'll do this thing. Let's get this hand out of here because we don't need this anymore. They'll draw a leg like this. They'll go down like that, draw the knee, and then they'll draw the calf like that, and then the foot. And that's cool, I guess, but see, I'm all about flow, and I'm always about remembering things. Thinking of easy ways to remember how these muscles will come together and fit together. And so, the way that I do it is like this. I'll draw this shape here, just a simple shape, right? Down to the knee. Kind of gauge where the knee is going to be. It's going to be right there. Now, this is where it gets really cool. There is a muscle that comes down like this, and it will connect here. And then this will actually affect a little bit of the shape of the leg. It'll come down like that, and it'll go out a little bit, depending on, obviously, how big the muscle is. Now, to connect it to the knee is really cool. Now, this is where it gets really fun, because you've got your knee right here, right? And an easy way for me to draw knees is I just kind of continue this line down, curve it, and then kind of draw in a cast shadow like that. And then, just come up and go like that. Now this is where it gets really cool. From that knee, you go like this. You go out and in, like that. So it's kind of like you've got this line here. It's like this, right? You go like that and like that. And it's interesting to think, but that line actually does exist in your leg. And you can exaggerate it as much as you want, depending on what style you're trying to go for. But even in real life, there's actually quite a bit of that line in the leg, and that's what I find really exciting. So you follow this line down, right? And then your calf muscle at the bottom actually has a little bit of a stagger to it. So I draw this calf muscle here, and it goes down like that. But the other calf muscle isn't like right there. It actually is staggered up quite a ways. It almost starts way up here, and it comes down like that. And then you can shade and take away from that as much as you want. But that is essentially how your leg works. And it helps add weight to it, I feel, because it has that bend in it, and it has that. It feels like there's more weight on it. And then your ankle, and please forgive me because we might have to do another tutorial on feet completely, because feet are actually my weakness. So I will do the best I can to draw a foot. The easiest way that I've been coming up with, or that I've seen in a book actually, and I kind of just adopted it into kind of what I do now, is I create a circle, and that's your ball joint, and you draw it down. It's almost like as if you were drawing a hoof, like this, like that, and then like that would be like your hoof. But instead, you draw your toes out, and toes, yeah, there's some toes. And then from there, you have your hoof, and then you draw your heel back like that. And look at that. Actually, that turned out not bad. And that's your ankle right there. Get rid of that thing. And there's your foot. Wow, okay, that actually turned out pretty good. Not bad. And that's that. And you think about your ellipses. And that is kind of like the flow, or where, like if you were to draw a line over it, the perspective, what effect the perspective would have on that line if you were to draw it across the body. It's always good to envision that. Because I just drew that line, but it doesn't really make sense. Because in order for him to be standing, the ellipses would have to consistently go like this, and they get further and further and further down. Like that. See, that looks more right. More right. Yeah, that's right. I just said that. So, yeah, actually this came together pretty nicely. I actually really like that. I feel like this arm is a little bit short, but with the magic of Photoshop, you can grab it and stick it right there. There we go. And the way that I try to remember it is when you're doing proportion is if you were to extend your hand, it kind of comes to about a little bit past your knee, or I mean a little bit past your mid-thigh. And that's kind of a good gauge for their proportions. So I believe that concludes our simplification of the human muscles. I hope that sheds some light for some of you of the daunting task of trying to do that. And speaking of light, a few of you have had some questions about that picture in the background and why it continuously moves throughout the shows. And no, it's not because it's constantly shaking or it's haunted or anything. It's actually because there is a fan right above me that keeps me from suffocating off my own heat that I produce throughout this entire show. If it was not there, I would probably be cooked alive. So that is why that picture is constantly moving. And some people say it's really distracting, but yeah, it's basically it's my only line of survival, so I gotta stick with it. So now with the tutorial completed, we move on to our question of the week. And that is, how do I set up my pen pressure to be like the way I always use it on the show? And I'll show it to you. It's actually quite easy. You'll go right here to your shape dynamics. On CS5, it's probably like more over here, but I'm running CS2 on my own home computer, so it's right here. Click that little box. then it'll open this thing right here. Go to Shape Dynamics, you go to Size Jitter, and you hit Pen Pressure to that. And then you go to Other Dynamics, Opacity Jitter, and then you go to Pen Pressure as well. And then you just turn on smoothing and you lock it. Now that's the other thing, is after you set up these things, make sure you hit this little lock button right here and right here. Because what that does is basically whatever brush you choose after that, it will retain those properties, or those properties will be added to it. So you don't have to, if you don't lock them, you'll have to reset it each time. So make sure you lock it down, and you will be good to go. And that is how I set up my pen pressure. Now it is time for my question to you, the lovely people of the audience. And my question to you is, what is the hardest part of the human body that you have drawing? And leave me a comment on what that is. And yes, I don't care what part it is. I really want to know, what is the hardest part for you to draw of the human body? And if I get enough unanimous whatever comments or whatever, we can go into a tutorial of how to basically break that down and make it easy. So, with all of that out of the way, yes, I believe we can call this show all done. So, before I go, I would invite you to visit the Facebook, and please post your drawings. Continue. I'm loving the participation that I'm seeing from you guys, and I want to see more of it. Please post any drawings that you've done where this tutorial helped you out, or even just what you did as you followed along with this tutorial today. I'd love to see it. And with that, thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you don't. I'm Kienan Lafferty. This has been the KNKL Show, and I will see you guys next week. There we go, ladies and gentlemen.